Good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be reporting about the minister's black veil. But before we dive into the lesson, may I first present to you the objectives. Okay, can you please read it, everyone? Okay, the first objective is provide a brief overview of the American Romanticism influence on literature and art. The second one is to analyze the themes and characteristic of the minister's black veil in the relation to American Romanticism. And the third one is to examine the symbolism and impact of the black veil in the minister's black veil. So now let's go on the historical background of the minister Black Veil. Ayan, it was first published in 1832 and was written during the American Romantic time period. American Romanticism was one of the first literary and art movements in the United States. 50 years after the Revolutionary War, Americans challenged the rational thinking of the age of reason and began to appreciate the expression of the individual. Then the major characteristic of the American period was to focus on nature through escapism and spirituality. Meaning, romantic writers often use nature as a source of inspiration. Okay, they saw it as a place to escape from the pressures of society and as a source of spiritual enlightenment. They believed that immersing oneself in nature, one could gain profound insight into the human condition. Then the second one is emphasis on individualism. The Romantics celebrated the individual and the unique experiences and emotion of each person. They believe that every individual has a unique perspective and that this diversity of viewpoints enriches society. Then the third one is freedom from rules, meaning the Romantic rejected the rigid rules and convention that characterized the literature of the age of reason. They believe in the power of the imagination and creativity, and they encourage a writer to explore new forms and style. Then the part one is fascination with the past. What is this? Okay, this is the Romantics were interested in history and often set their works in a past. They saw the past as the source of wisdom and inspiration. And they often use the historical setting to explore contemporary issues. And the last one, characteristic of the minister Black Veil is valuing imagination over reason. Meaning, while the age of reason emphasized logic and rationality, the Romantics placed a higher value on imagination. They believed that imagination could reveal truths that reason could not. In the essence, the American Romantic movement was a recreation against the rationalism of the age of reason. It celebrated individualism, imagination, and nature. And it was shaped by the diverse experiences of the American people during this period. After knowing the historical background of the story, The Minister Black Veil, let's go on the what? On the author and his life. Who do you think is the author of the story? Yes, that's right. It is Nathaniel Hawthorne. Ayan, he is born on July 4, 1804 and died on May 19, 1864. He was a prominent American novelist and short story writer. His Puritan ancestry had a profound impact on his work, often infusing his stories with a sense of moral seriousness. Then, his work is characterized by its use of allegory and symbolism. He was a master at using these literary devices to convey deeper meanings and explore complex themes. His skills and creativity have earned him a place among the greatest American fiction writers. Okay, now, after knowing the author and his life, let's go on the setting and the characters of the story. The story is set on the village of England. Then we have five major characters. First is Mr. Hooper, the central character of the story. Then he is the minister of the church in Melford. He begins wearing a black veil, causing fear and speculation among townspeople. Despite his unchanged sermons and kind demeanor, his veil creates a barrier between him and his con- congregation. Then, the second character is Elizabeth. She is Mr. Hooper's fiancée. Then, Elizabeth is a kind, patient, and understanding woman. However, she leaves Mr. Hooper when he refuses to remove the veil even for her. Okay. Then we have the town people. They represent collective character in the story. The town people are initially shocked, then grow fearful and suspicious of Mr. Hooper after he dons the black veil. The reaction represent the human fear of the unknown and different. Then, the fourth one is the clergyman. This is Mr. Hooper colleagues who judge him for his decision to wear the veil. Their judgment reflects the intolerance often found within religious institutions. And the last one is the sexton. And he is the church officer who first noticed Hooper's black veil. His reaction sets the tone for the rest of the congregation's response. And that's the characters of the story. So now, let's dive on the most exciting part, the plot summary of the story. This story begins with Mr. Hooper. And he's standing before his congregation in a small Puritan town. The people are shocked to see, however, that Mr. Hooper is wearing a veil over the top half of his face. All they can see is his mouth and chin. Mr. Hooper gives a sermon about secret sin and then attends the funeral of woman. Before the coffin is removed, Mr. Hooper leans over the body, seemingly in communication. People begin to gossip about the bill and what sort of secret sin Mr. Hooper is hiding. Thereafter, Mr. Hooper performs a wedding ceremony, and his black veil casts dark secret over the union. Mr. Hooper's fiancée, Elizabeth, implores him to remove the veil, but he refuses, and she ends the engagement. Mr. Hooper continues a life of successful preaching and eventually falls ill. Elizabeth visits him on his deathbed, where he says that everyone is wearing black veils. And that's the end of the story. I hope you learned something for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have fun.